Hello everybody, I am Tim Topham and I'm here with Will Soot, who is I hope I got your name right, Will. I should have asked that before we began.
You did. First
Okay,
time.
brilliant, brilliant.
Great. Yeah.
Who is our Top Music Sheets composer for October 2024. And I thought this would be a fun opportunity to connect with Will, ask him a little bit about himself and his composing work, and also have a listen to some of his music as we go through today's session. So Will, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much. I'm very honored.
So I want to just play a little bit of one of your pieces from this collection. It's called Dance, and this collection, as we'll explore shortly, has quite a lot of early elementary and elementary music, which is great. And we're going to talk about how you teach that. But this is one of the pieces at the other end of the spectrum, probably sort of early intermediate, would you say, Will? Intermediate level?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And it's beautiful in A major. Sounds like this. Um, All right, that's just a little taster. And please excuse any of my fumbles as I do my sight reading thing. Will, this is a great collection. As I say, it's full of pieces that are going to be able to appeal to students at just about every level. Before we just dive into some of the other music there, tell us a little bit about you and your teaching. Do you mainly compose? Do you mainly teach? How does it fit?
Well, these days I mainly teach. I have 47 students and I run the school. I have a school, Panel Point Music near Atlanta. So I spend most of my time teaching. But I do make sure that I carve out time to still write. I write for students. I write other things, but most of the time I'm teaching right now.
And do you tend, when you're composing, do you tend to think pedagogically, i.e., I'm writing this for a particular purpose, I'm trying to teach a student something through this piece? Or is it very much, no, it's kind of just come to me, I like this sound, I'm going to write that down?
Uh, well, both. It depends because when I began writing, it was more an art for me and my expression of my feelings and thoughts. And but I can sit down and very methodically write a piece for a student who's struggling and make it interesting. And if it involves my students, then it's usually very methodic.
Right. And I'm looking at some of the music, and what I do notice is that everything has got lyrics. All the elementary pieces have lyrics. So the first piece in the collection is The Owl Says Who. And what I might do is just play it, and then Will, you can tell us how you use lyrics in actually teaching this, because I know for some teachers, and when I started teaching beginners, I kind of ignored the lyrics. But the more I've learned about the importance of singing and how it helps students, the more I've used lyrics. Just before we do that, I just want to make sure your sound is also coming through. So I'm just going to do a quick little check over here. This is the first time we've been recording this as a live stream and a playthrough all at the same time. So thank you for bearing with me, Will, and anyone who's also watching. I'm just going to do an extra record as well over here on Zoom, just in case we've got any issues with our sound. Okay, so this is the piece called The Owl Says Who, and it goes like this. So we've got the first two lines, and this is obviously early and elementary. This is for students that are just starting to read, obviously. And we've got the right hand kind of talking to the left hand. But we've also got these lyrics here. Hear the faint call on the breeze from the forest draped with leaves. So tell us how you use the lyrics.
Uh, well, I'm going to tell a little story if that's okay.
Yeah.
Uh, I had a student some years ago that hummed while she was playing, and the first time I heard it, I'm like, "What? What is that noise?" And then I realized she could not play without humming. And I don't know if you know this, but Glenn Gould did the same thing.
Yeah. Quite
Yeah,
annoyingly,
he
yeah, actually,
yes,
because it was
and
kind
his
of out of
creaky
tune.
chair. Uh, but that's how she connected. And there's actually, and don't ask me for the reference, I'll go find it if you want it. But there's actually a science behind this because when children can connect a lyric with a tune, they connect more readily with it and the music going on behind it. So I always try to write a lyric with a song that I'm going to present to a child if I
Okay.
can. And if there's not one there, they make one up.
Right, yeah, and I remember my teacher doing that, which I now realize was kind of an off technique in some ways, particularly when the rhythm was tricky. She would come up with a sentence which flowed with the lyrics and the content to help me understand it and be able to remember it. And that was a great trick, and I've always used that myself with teaching. So this one, would you? I mean. Hear the faint call on the breeze is the melody here. We're in kind of a D minor. For the forest draped with leaves. So would you actually have the students sing, or does it really depend for you on the student as to how they connect with the music?
It depends. I have a variety of students, and it depends on where their learning curve is. And it's a tool sitting there. It's useful with most students, but not all connect with it. That's the
Mm.
way I see it. Yeah. But
So
after they learn the song, I'll often say, "Let me sing while you play," and their rhythm cleans up. They take the song a little more seriously because they see it's a real song.
interesting.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's, as you say, a great tool. It can be, and it depends on how you've introduced singing early on for a student, because I really advocate now the earlier you get students singing, the more it becomes normalized and it just becomes part of what you do. But it can be very difficult if you take on a student later on and then just go, well, we're going to sing together, because it's kind of freaky for a
All
lot of them, right?
right.
So it's great
Right.
to be able to have that as an opportunity. You can either use it or do something different. One of the other pieces I love too, and there's a couple of pieces in this collection that use the chromatic movement, which I don't think you see very much of in elementary music. Would you tend to agree?
I agree, and that's why I wrote that Busy Buzzy Fuzzy Bumblebee and the Halloween song.
Yeah.
Those have the chromatic scale in it, and you don't see it till they're already up reading in level one and two. And I think you should teach it early on
Yeah. So
and let
here's
them explore.
let me demonstrate a little bit of this. So this is busy, buzzy, fuzzy, bumblebee, and you can imagine this is actually the lyrics. So, and we've got the chromatic scale starting on C using the chromatic fingering, which students are going to know. And it's actually a relatively easy movement for students. There's nothing complex about it. It fits the hands, thumbs on white
Mhm.
notes, long finger on black notes. So this isn't anything too difficult. So this is a busy, buzzy, fuzzy bumblebee. And then the left hand gets to start, and the student gets to do the same thing fingering wise here. 1 3 1 3 1 3 1 3 1. And then they get to do it hands together, which is, I think, really, really cool at this sort of early elementary level. And as you say, oh, and it goes, and you do that a couple of times, but we also go up the scale too, I think, Will, don't we? So we go,
Yes.
so they actually get the experience of playing with the second finger in that, so they get used to that movement too. And this is all
Yes.
just introducing them to things that they're going to learn later on, right?
Yes, and it's interesting because the 1-3, and I agree with you, the 1-3 technique of playing the chromatic scale is not that difficult. And children are already curious why we have the black notes there anyway, and we're holding them off from playing them. So this gives them an opportunity to explore it and also think about a bee buzzing around. if
Yeah,
you're curious.
yeah, it's very. It does have that buzzy sound, doesn't it? And it's. I mean, Flight of the
Yeah,
Bumblebee is all
yeah,
chromatic too, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Great take on it. So you've also got a an elementary piece in 3/4 in this collection. And look, this is so hot off the press. I haven't even got a printed version. Normally people will see me playing the printed version. This is still on my iPad here because we're still actually working on it. I think you had a 3/4 piece, didn't you? Night of Halloween. Oh, this is another chromatic one. Can you
Yeah.
tell us about this one?
Well, may I mention Albert?
Yeah, absolutely. Please do. Yes.
So
Everyone
when
loves
he and I,
Albert.
yes, he's great. When he and I were discussing what pieces might go in, uh, I asked if it would be okay to put a holiday piece in, and he's like, absolutely, Halloween's a great time. And so I started digging through my music, trying to find a Halloween piece or something that would be Halloween, and I'm like, so I just wrote this 3 weeks ago,
Ah,
and it's brand new. You're
literally
the
hot off the
first one.
press.
Yes.
Oh, cool. Well, why don't I give everyone a quick listen to the start of it? The left hand, so we're in 3/4, and the left hand we've got this descending pattern, which I think students, I mean, I work with students on composition early on and often talk about descending bass lines because just with a simple chord in the right hand, like an A minor chord, and just moving the left hand descending down, you have
Yes.
this kind of pop music-y sound. It's beautiful, it resonates with students, they love it. So I'm really glad that you used this at this early stage. So this is probably, what would we call this level-wise? Because there's a bit of coordination going on between the
It's in
hands.
the middle. You
Yeah,
could just do the melody as more of a beginner, late beginner, but it could be, if you know the levels of preparatory, the edge of level one, maybe.
yeah, yeah. So
It would
melody-wise,
be,
we've got is our first little melody idea, and the left hand's doing this chromatic descent downwards, which is so Halloweeny, and then it goes back up again. So we have together. Really nice. Like it just kind of flows. It's a little bit like a creepy carousel waltz kind of thing.
yes.
I really like it. So tell me, Will, how did you get into composing?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, I'll tell you. I'll make it succinct. From the time I was a kid, I loved to write poetry. In high school, I had two teachers who nurtured that and my writing abilities. And so in college, I focused on that. In my spare time, I'm not, well, I guess I am bragging. I'm not theory. I'll
You
just
can
say it that
brag,
way.
that's
And I
okay.
challenged. I made straight A's in theory, so I could compose, I could write, and I understood how music works very well. And the choral arranging, I was doing that all the time for quartets and ensembles that I was in. And so I challenged 2 years of advanced choral arranging and passed with an A in those. And I loved it. It's not, it wasn't a technicality. It was just something that poured out of me. So the summer after I graduated, I had a very devastating injury to my right eye, and I was uh, not able to be mobile very much for 6 months. And I would wake up in the middle of the night because, when injuries happen, you wake up at odd times. I'd wake up in the middle of the night. And so I started writing and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote. And it's just a part of me now.
Yeah.
I love to write.
And did you have any inspiration or sort of mentors or anything like that?
Absolutely. I grew up. in Georgia. I'm in the U.S. in North Georgia in the mountains, so I heard a lot of bluegrass music, Southern gospel music. But then I studied uh, traditional and classical music in university, of course, and I went into sacred music for a time. I was in church music for 20 years, and I wrote choral pieces all the time. And my inspiration was a professor named Dan Shorb. uh, he's retired now in Florida, but he has encouraged me since the time I met him to write. There was a couple in south of Atlanta. One of them is passed now, but Walt and Claire, they were musicians, and they would take my pieces and encourage me to orchestrate them, and that's when I really delved into orchestrations. And we would do these big musicals. I would write an entire musical for a season that would be acted out and everything. And
Oh, a musical
um,
theatre production.
yeah,
Oh, wow.
yes,
Yeah.
and so I've had, and right now, Eriko Ishikawa. You probably don't know any of these names, but these people have really influenced me and pushed me to, and uh, critiqued me, encouraged me uh, to go through. And my mom, from the time I was a child, of course, has been a big inspiration in my life.
That's
And
great.
her sister. I
Yeah.
could go on and on, Alistair.
Yeah.
But
No, I'm sure there'll be
yes.
some people listening who know some of those names as well. And if you could choose maybe one or two composers from history, or even living composers that we might be playing might also be teaching the music of, who would you say?
Uh, Gustav Holst.
Oh
I
yeah.
love his music, the
Yep.
planets, and a lot of other stuff he did. Samuel Barber's Adagio is always a big deal to me. And for dramatic stuff, Verdi.
Oh
Loved
yeah.
his music. Um, I could list more, but let me come to now. And I'll tell you one composer now that every time I play one of her works with my students, I'm impressed. And I'm from the South in Georgia, so I'm going to mispronounce her name. I'm not French, so you'll have to correct me if you know. And Crosby Godet.
Oh,
Do you know
Gaudet, I
that
think it
name?
is. Yeah, I've
Okay,
heard. I've not
Godet.
met her, but I know who you mean.
Her pieces really connect with the students, and I think she's good at pedagogical writing.
Yeah,
I like her.
that's
So.
great. Well, go and check out Anne Crosby as well. Yes, I know. I've seen her name around the place. Might be someone else we need to check in with and see if she could share some of her
Yeah.
work with us. I thought it might be fun just to play perhaps one more. And I loved, look, there's lots of ones in here that I love, but one of the other ones was Shadows Fall. And I like this because in the left hand, you've just got a really simple broken chord in a triad position. So we've got this, we're in 3/4. We've got this, we've got pedal, so we're moving around. There's not a huge amount going on, but it's simple. And what I really like about this, actually, I'll play it with the melody first, and then I'll talk about another element. It sounds to me like you're in a mode. Am I right?
Yes.
What I love about this is that you can take the left hand, and this is something I really love doing with students and encourage teachers to do, and I hope you don't mind if I do this, and that's to use the left hand that Will has written, because it does repeat, and it's nice and steady, is to explore, once the students learnt the piece, another melody that they could use, or to improvise using that left hand, because you can have. Do you ever do that kind of
I
thing, Will, with your students?
yes, yes, I totally agree. And when you were mentioning that A minor theme that you do with your students
Yeah.
earlier, I have a very similar thing. And at the end of every lesson, there are four things they do in their lesson: focus, present, explore, create. And create at the end is improv time, and I always make time for it. And I play an accompaniment, they make up a melody. I give them a set of notes, and I'm like, here's your topic. Here's your accompaniment. Give me a melody. And then as they become a little more eloquent at chords, I do that. I teach them the accompaniment and I make up a melody. So
Yes.
yes, you could take that and say, make up. I like that. That's a
Yeah.
great idea.
Exactly. And it's an easy way for teachers, particularly if they're classically trained and more used to teaching the reading, to just venture off the page a little bit with their students, because everything's in front of you. You have the key of the piece, the notes from the key, and you've got a left hand that's already written that flows, and either you can play it as a teacher and the student improvises, or vice versa, or the student can do both, depending on the kind of level they're at. So I think that's a beautiful, beautiful little piece. Again, it's lovely to have, I think,
Thank you.
more music in 3/4 as well. So thank you for sharing that. Oh, actually, I should say, All Is Silent as well was another one that I loved. Again, because you've got some nice chords in the left hand. Oh, sorry, no, it's not All Is. Is it All Is Silent?
It should be.
Yeah. No, I've got a typo because this is still the draft.
Okay.
It's All Is Slient, which I didn't think was right, so I'm glad I got it right. Don't worry, we'll be fixing this up before it goes to print. Again, left hand, we've got some beautiful chord shapes and right hand melody. And then the right hand takes over the chords here. And I thought, yeah, that was just really fun to play. What it made me, reminded me of is maybe a worship song or a hymn somehow. And then I read that you have done lots of church music. So have I got that connection right?
Yes, actually, this was a Christmas piece I wrote on the spur of the moment in the 90s. And I adapted it for teaching purposes. And I teach a lot of students that from different backgrounds and faiths and cultures. So I try to make their music more neutral. And but this was originally a sacred piece. Yes,
Yeah.
a Christmas piece. Yeah.
It's beautiful, and I mean, it's a song really, and the lyrics are there. There's multiple verses, so a student who is a singer or is interested in that, or maybe they sing at their church, maybe they would like to sing this as well, and you could accompany, or they could accompany themselves. I think it's a great skill for students to be able to play and sing at the same time if they're happy to do it. Used to be the kind of thing I would show off by doing when I was younger, because people who can't play just think it's, I mean, how could you play and sing at the same time? Or sight read and sing and play, which I also enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it when I get a student that wants to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, because you can just introduce some simple chords, like strumming a guitar, simple chords, and they could sing a song that they really love doing, which is often far simpler, isn't it, Will, than trying to play a written, notated version of a pop song, which which often is very difficult. Will, thank you so much for joining me today for this little look inside your collection. Now, this is a tiny selection of all the music that you've created. So where can people find out if they enjoy exploring this connection inside Top Music Pro? Where can they find out more of your music?
Well, you could go to my website, which is willsuitmusic.com, and that'll give you connections to wherever the music is, and you can read my blog. I also, if I may say, have put up some pieces on the music teachers resource site.
Oh yeah, okay.
Right. And I've been over there this week adjusting it and making it an accessible cost for you.
Fantastic.
That's a sale,
Brilliant. All
a
right,
rummage sale.
musicteacherresources.com or willsuitmusic.com. Is that right?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
And if you would like to explore this collection, this is a free part of Top Music Pro membership. As I always mention, each month when we share these collections, they are so much fun. They're studio licensed, so you can use this throughout your studio. And all of these pieces are available even on our light Top Music plan, which is just $10 a month. It's crazy value. TopMusicPro.com is where you go to find out more. Will, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been great. And I can see there's a few people watching the live stream, so hello to you guys too. If you're listening to this on a podcast, make sure you go and check out this collection. If you're not a member, come and join us. Will, thank you. Great to see you. Great to meet
Thank
you.
you,
Thanks
Tom.
for contributing.
Thank you so much. I'm very honored. Thank you.